Welcome to restorative yoga. So the first pose we'll set up is having one block at a higher or highest setting and the other block on the middle setting. And then you take your bolster here. Now, what if you don't have all these props? You could certainly find thick books that would work under here, or anything in that shape that would be stable enough. And then this, if you don't have a bolster, you can take a pillow or two and then wrap around either a yoga strap or a towel, but something to secure it. It could even be like a couple pillows stuffed into one pillowcase. I don't know, you can get creative. And then the blanket can be anything. It can just be another blanket or a beach towel. But for restorative, I do suggest you do want the props. You want the floor to come to you. You want the support of the props so that you can fully settle your central nervous system and come into complete calm and relaxation. I also would suggest an eye pillow if you have one. So we'll start with the back of the pelvis up against the bolster. And then if you have one of these blankets, or I'm just going to assume you have a blanket or a beach towel, you'll take a rolled towel or blanket, put it on top of the feet, the ankles, and then you can just wrap the blanket inside the calves. Basically, it just comes behind the calf muscles. And then the blanket adds support for the ankles. And then you lay back. And if you feel like you might want something under your knees as well, so that you don't have any attention during this pose on any areas of the body that might become a little bit uncomfortable or feel like you're stretching them, we're not really looking for a stretch of the muscles. We're just looking to be supported in particular positions and just calming down our system. The system that is responsible for fight or flight. And then once you get in to this position, which sometimes you have to finagle a little bit, you'll settle in. And then I'll note a couple restorative playlists in this class, so you have that as well. So soles of feet together, knees wide, and then you just lay back on the bolsters and props. Make the adjustments that you need. Maybe add your eye pillow or start your music. It could also be in a nice warm room that it's dark. You could turn the lights out. And then you let your arms open out to the sides. And if your elbows are hanging off the bolster but not touch down onto the earth, you might decide to kind of stuff a blanket or block underneath the elbows to have that added support. We'll be here for about 8 minutes. So just settle in and close your eyes. Tune into the rise and fall of your belly. And if your breath feels like it's up in your chest or throat, send that breath down to your belly. And give belly breathing a try. So you inhale, belly expands. Exhale, belly falls. Good. Soften your face. And become heavy. See if you can sink a little bit deeper. Just let gravity be your friend. If your mind wanders, bring your attention back to your breath. Soften your forehead, space between your eyebrows. Soften your jaw. Feel your shoulders open. Hips become heavy. Groins open. Knees falling out to the sides, becoming heavy. Soles of feet just placed together, but not engagement. Just let your whole body relax. Notice your whole system's settling down. Start to deepen your breath. And then to come out, you'll just take your hands underneath the knees, bring them together, remove the blanket. And then you can have the soles of feet together, or sorry, apart, knees wide, and just take this side to side. And then use your hands to gently press yourself up to a seat. And then we'll take the bolster out in front of us. Swing our legs around. You may or may not want the blocks. And we'll come into child's pose. So knees wide, big toes touch. You can take your blanket and put it right over your heels, so that when your back of your pelvis does sit down, there's a cushion there. And then with the bolster, you take it in between the thighs and take your chest down, and then just take your right ear to the mat. If you want some elevation, you would take a block under here. And then make your way down. I'm going to move this microphone for a second. And we'll start with the right ear on the mat, and then I'll have you switch to the left ear just to even us out. So a couple minutes on each side. Take your right ear down, forearms down on your mat. Hips sit back, knees wide. Let your belly hang between your thighs. And then just tune in to your breath. And gently press yourself up, and then just turn the gaze to the other side. Let's start to deepen your breath. And slide your hands underneath the shoulders, come on up. And then take your bolster, place it to the side, take your block to the side, and then we'll come off of the blanket. And you'll take your right thigh and left thigh and kind of just put them on top of each other to start. And you want your thigh to be parallel to the short end of your mat. And then you can take this blanket and keep your feet nice and cozy by covering your feet with the blanket or tucking in the blanket around your feet. I like to have a block on this with this pose, so I'm just going to put it on the lowest setting. Take the bolster short end up to the thigh, and then it is a twist, so you can just manually grab the left side of the belly and then just help it twist forward. And also this left hip can come forward. So when we twist, we don't want the pelvis to stay stuck. We want to move the pelvis and then the spine follows. If you find that this twist is really intense, bring the knees closer to the chest. If you find that you have more room, you slide the top leg back. And then from there, bring your chest down, right ear down, or left ear, if that feels okay for your neck. And we'll be here for 3 minutes on each side. Inhale deeply. Exhale, release. So you'll root your hands down underneath the shoulders and come back up. And just maintaining the quiet energy. So we'll just need to switch sides. You can come on up. Bring your knees over to the other side. So again, you can cover up your feet. You have your left thigh parallel with the short edge of your mat, and it's all the way up against the bolster. And then you can take your right hand to your right hip and press the right hip forward so that the pelvis is twisting and then the spine follows. And then belly and chest faces down onto the bolster. Left ear stays on the mat unless you want to bring your right ear down. And you'll be here for a few minutes. So try to settle in quickly. Close the eyes. And if your mind wanders, you just bring your attention back to your natural breathing. And let yourself get really heavy on your mat. Slowly deepen your breath and press yourself up to a seat. And then you'll take your bolster and put it about 1/3 of a way down your mat. And you'll take your blanket or your towel and do a nice long burrito roll. And then you'll put that about 1/3 of a way from the back of the mat. And then you'll just take your knees up on the mat, nice and wide, so the feet can turn out. And if you do have a tendency to get cold, we will be in this Shavasana for 10 minutes. So sometimes it feels good to just cover yourself up with a blanket. So knees are supported here. And then you come down onto this other blanket, and it's right underneath the shoulder blades so that the blanket kind of comes out of the armpit area. And then you can take your arms up like cactus. You could take them all the way up overhead and cross the forearms, or you could take them like wide and down. So find what works for you. I'm actually going to grab a blanket, and you can also have your eye pillow handy. And then just settle in. So our system, our body tends to cool as we rest. Tuck your feet into the blanket. Let's tune into the rise and fall of your belly. Become heavy, as heavy as possible on your mat. Pelvis is heavy, shoulder blades are down, face is soft, feet relaxed. Take a scan from your toes all the way up to the crown of the head. Just notice where you might be feeling tension and tightness. Maybe you send breath to that area of the body that may have experienced injury or trauma. Breathing for healing. And slowly start to deepen your breath. Find a little movement in your fingers and toes. Take your head side to side. And slowly roll to one side or the other, whatever is calling you. And then use your top hand to press yourself up to a seat, nice and slow. Maintain the energy of your Shavasana. And then heavy in your sits bones, palms together in front of your heart. Eyes closed, chin slightly down. Notice how you feel now compared to when you started. Inhale deeply. Exhale, release. Thank you so much for practicing. Namaste.